Okay, so it's probably a good time to throw to Stephen, who's just got the gig of promoting John Butler's new release in digital space. I guess there's two sides to the question. If you work with an artist who's established and you're trying to create an interest around a new release, I guess there's a set of principles that you might operate around there. But do you think this approach that Everett was talking about, like for a band that has made their first record that's not yet getting Triple J radio play, do you think you could create interest in the band through music blogs? Do you think, I mean, what would you say to a band that hasn't got any radio play that comes to you and says, well, we want you to advise us on an online strategy? Do you think that's a viable approach? So that would be the, first example is John Butler, I got an audience. Second example was I don't have an audience yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about, I guess the people that are running music blogs they're just people and they're music fans. And if you get it to them and they think it's awesome, then they spread the word. I mean, the same thing, if you stick up a Facebook group and somebody, a friend of yours hears it and loves it and they spread the word, blogs are just a good way of pinpointing the people that can spread it better than the average person. And essentially, all you've got to do is get the stuff heard. And if the product is exceptional, then people will start to spread the word themselves. And the internet's just another great tool to do it. I mean, it's the same as if, 20 years ago, or even right now, if you're busking at the local markets and someone comes up and goes, gee, that's awesome, I do a radio show, can I have one of your CDs? It's the same thing, just on a different platform.
So in terms of the incredible noise of content that's online, I mean, so young band X rocks up with an EP and, they're trying to get people to even post it to their blog. I mean, do you think the cold call still works? I mean, do you think people running music blogs are actually listening to unsolicited demo? I mean, it would be interesting to know whether they're trading on some sort of existing buzz, or I think these guys got a bit interested. I'll have a listen to this and see whether we'll do a blog post on it, or whether they're just doing the cold call thing and they're listening to MP3s going, I like that, I'll write about that. I mean, do you think that literal cold calling thing works?
Is Matt around?
You'd be crazy to do the cold call thing, absolutely crazy. It would be a complete waste of your time, absolute waste. I can't believe anybody does the cold call thing, and if they should just give up writing about music right now.
There's a fairly emphatic response.
Pop music is nothing about music.
Yeah. That's a quotable quote. Because I think, that does, I guess one of the things that's emerging out of a lot of discussion now is that bands actually need to do more for themselves before labels and other people get interested in them. So in other words, the received wisdom now seems to be amongst a whole bunch of people that if you're a young act and you're trying to make your way, then before anyone's even going to look at you sideways, you've got to have demonstrated that you've got some kind of an audience and that you've got some kind of interest. So I think for young acts, there's obviously going to be the question, well, what are my most useful points of departure in terms of building that interest? Should I just get on the road and do the Beatles thing and just play as many shows as I can to as many, and I start up with 5, 10 people and maybe next time I play I'll get 20 and next time I play, which then leads to the sort of burnout question, So are we back to the kind of really traditional thing around you get out on the road and you play live and that's your point of departure, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely getting back to the basics of working on your band with, the points of your image, your songs, your style, who you're looking at, projecting your music towards, and getting involved as a band or getting a good manager definitely is the most important thing. As you said, one of the biggest things was with Nirvana was them getting a great manager. I still think that runs true.
I mean, live is a good market, it's a good market testing ground as well. I mean, if you are playing live to 100 people and you do 50 gigs and you're still playing to 100 people and you haven't converted any new fans.
So you might be saying to the young band that's coming to you, if you weren't going to take their money shamelessly, to say, come back to me when you've got 200 people turning up to your gigs and then we'll talk? Do you think that would be the advice that you would give to someone?
It's not even so much about having a specific number, it's about having a growth. I mean, if you had 10 people at your first gig, 20 at your second, 50 at your third, and 80 at your fourth, then there's something building there.
Okay, so it's about the trajectory rather than the raw numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's trending upwards, we've got something we can work on, rather than there's a threshold at which you need to hit before it becomes worthwhile even trying. Yeah. Well, yeah, But I guess that's, so, you know, there's no substituting, I guess, the having to hit the road and play shows, and then, of course, obviously managing the burnout factor of doing that. The fact that if you live in Australia, as we do, and you're trying to reach an audience around the country and you're going on the road, that's a fairly formidable proposition than if you are living in Brighton, England, and you can play 2,000 venues within a night's drive of where you are around the country. I mean, I guess there are a different set of principles operating in a landscape where we are that are different from perhaps working in Europe or in the UK where there's a lot more density.
Yeah, that whole trajectory thing is fine, but I mean, what happens if there just isn't the audience out there at that point in time, in which case you just have to have the self-belief to keep you going through those months and years of just seeing your trajectory kind of decline slowly.
Or knowing when to give up.
Or knowing when to give up.
Okay, I think on that note, at the risk of spoiling Dan's gig for tonight and not cutting into his set, which will be fantastic, I think we might wind it up there. So I'd like you to give a big round of applause for our panellists, Everett True, Horscroft and Stephen Green and Julian Knowles. Thanks for coming to Music Stimulants. Keep looking on the Powerhouse website. We'll be doing this every few months. Thank you.